Coach, your group is 7-2 in these 3 points or less games. What have you been able to do, regardless of the circumstances of how you guys get there, who's been in, who's been out, to come away with wins in those situations?
Just understanding what we're looking for in those games, being able to give these guys a sense of direction is exactly what we're asking for. These guys are executing at the right time, defending at the right time. But then we've also talked about not letting it get there. But this league is good enough that teams play so fast, they find their way back in games. But we've got to continue to do a great job of communicating. Each game is going to be different, but our process has to stay the same.
When you reviewed the film from the last game, what do you think broke down in the fourth quarter for you guys?
Yeah, I think for them to come back, I think there were situations, like you said, teams chase the three-point line, and in this league, no lead is safe because of the speed of the game, because of the three-point shots. They got free on a couple open shots. Us coming down, taking early shots in the offense, not moving the ball around like we needed to, and then we missed some easy ones, and that's part of this game as well. But our guys knowing that, to your point, Dan, being 7-2 in those games, you're able to figure out a way to get the job done, even if we are keeping, fans in the seats to the very end.
How much do you balance, will you have to play better, but also we're missing two guys like Jalen and Franz? What's the reality?
Beatty, that's a great question. That is a very great question. We talk about next man up. We talk about by committee, and guys are doing their part right now. And as we get more bodies back, it's going to be clunky for a second to get guys back in the fold, but then we will find our rhythm and our groove. So it's a difficult balance to have, and we're not making excuses. So the guys that step on the floor, we're asking and demanding that they play the way we need them to play.
How seasons go, there's ups and downs, but how do you evaluate where this team's been at the last 14 games, where you're kind of alternating wins and losses? You're not, you're still kind of treading water, but you're not maybe where you guys want to be.
So that was Beatty's question, just asked in a different way.
A little bit.
So ultimately, it's because different lineups, different rotations, the road, the schedule. You have to balance it game by game, and obviously we've been up and down in each one of those games. We've had games where we played a great basketball, and we have lulls, and that's been how we played over this span. And some of that is due to guys being in and out of the lineup, but we've got to make sure that we continue to stick to the course of what we're doing, stay the course of what we're doing. And I think that's sharing the basketball, defending at a high clip, understanding what we're doing in end-of-game execution situations. Those are all big keys.
These guys have such high expectations for themselves. Like you said, expectations in the building are bigger than the ones outside the building. How do you keep them focused or avoid frustration when it's not all clicking together at this point?
You speak the truth. It'd be nice to just go ideal and say it should look like this. Well, the reality is this is what it looks like right now. Up, down, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. How do we play consistent basketball? And that happens when you get a consistent rotation. It happens when you get consistent players in the lineup, and that's what we're in right now. And our guys understand that, and that's the truth we speak to them. And how do you bounce out of it? You communicate with one another. You talk about the things that are in front of you, and then you handle it the right way.
Have you liked your group's communication through those things, pointing out, some of the positives and negatives through wins and losses?
Absolutely. You have to speak the truth about all these things because otherwise you don't solve it. We just talked this morning in our film session about when Franz comes back, when Mo comes back, when Jalen comes back. We've been in this situation before. And so you have to learn and take something from those moments. And it's going to be clunky at first, but you take something from that. We've been through that experience that you learn from, and then you take off running.
What has Franz been able to do recently? Where is he at?
Franz has been on the court doing a little bit more, a little bit of contact stuff, just getting his cardio and conditioning up on the court.
What's the next step for him?
Continue the same and see how he responds to the treatment.
Where's Mo? Obviously, a different injury, much longer recovery time. Now a year removed from his surgical procedure a year ago yesterday. What has he been able to do?
He's been on the court. He's been done some 2-on-2, 3-on-3, playing some games, doing some contact stuff. So he's slowly working his way back, and it's just always going to depend on how they respond to those days what we put in front of them.
How do you guys balance we want to make sure they're both healthy, they're both right, but also there's a big game coming up in Berlin that I would think they want to be on the court for. You guys want to be on the court for that. What's the challenge there?
The challenge in that is you think long term. You want them to be ready for that Berlin game. They want to be ready for that Berlin game, and that's a big key, and that's the ideal world. But then the reality of what we're facing is the fact that you want them to be ready for the long game as well. Like, we have a long season ahead of us, and you want them to be prepared and healthy as possible walking into each one of those games from then on.
Has Mo been able to do any contact yet?
Yes.
And what was Jace able to do this morning? He's questionable tonight.
Jace is getting some shots up right now, just doing some pick and roll work, seeing how he moves off that ankle, off his body.
You mentioned talking to your team about when Franz comes back, when Mose comes back, when Suggs comes back. Is that a signal that you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you're beginning to prepare for those?
I mean, in my mind, yes, but like I said, it always depends on how they respond to the treatment that they're going through.
And then, this Philly team tonight, they got a lot of guys back. What are you seeing out of them as they put their unit together, much like you're talking about?
Yeah, they've got the group that are playing good basketball, very good basketball, as a matter of fact. I mean, they've got their guys that are, obviously Edgecomb's playing great. Maxi's playing at MVP level. Embiid is being back in the fold. Paul George getting his legs back underneath him. I think they've got scoring options everywhere. They create matchup problems all over the floor. So I think they're playing at a really good clip, and we've got to make sure that we're defending the right way, following the game plan, and then doing what we know we are capable of doing on both sides of the ball.
We're almost halfway through the season, so it might be a little early for this, but do you recognize or highlight the standings implication? Because the last game against Philadelphia, winner takes the season series, could matter in March and April. Like, is that something that's weighing on the mind here?
No. No.
That's why I asked.
No. A good question. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Des, your group is 7-2 in games decided by 3 points or less this season.
Feels like they all decided by 3 points or less.
How have you liked your group's ability to respond regardless of who's been in the lineup, how you got there, but, down the stretch find a way to come out with it?
I think it's huge for teams. I mean, early on when we started getting in those situations, I would always tell the guys, this is good for us. You need to be in those close games, meaningful games, so when it comes down to it, we're not second-guessing anything, in those moments. And you've seen, throughout those games, we've won them all in different ways, whether we're coming from behind or we have a lead and lose a lead, find a way to get the stops that we need down the stretch. So it's all growing opportunities, things that we definitely got to improve on. But, that's what these next 40-some games are for. And, after everything we've been through this year, I think that we're in a good spot.
What needs to happen for those wins? Obviously, a win is a win, but what needs to happen to get some more comfortable wins, I guess?
I think taking care of the ball, I think that's something that I've struggled with the last couple games. And, as a group, something that we have to do, just valuing possessions, giving up offensive rebounds. Sometimes it's the game plan discipline. When things heat up in the fourth quarter, we got to double down on our process. And, I think that's a good place to start.
What do you think the communication has been like amongst the group in the fourth quarter recently?
I think it's been good. We're somewhat young, but inching towards, being a veteran, type of team. But, you're hearing different voices, multiple voices, and that's what you want. You don't want it to always be one guy saying, this is what we need to be doing. Everybody needs to, be on the same page, and I think we're trending in that direction.
Kind of on that point, I think over the last 14 games, you guys alternated wins and losses. Mm-hmm. You know what an NBA season is like. There's ups and downs, and being able to just kind of scratch all the wins matters. But how do you assess where this team is at in those terms?
I think December's been a different month for us. Franz goes down, Paulo just comes back, works his way into the fold. We have Jay Suggs for bits and pieces of it, so I think that we've dealt with our fair share of adversity. But, like you said, every team is going through it and has been through it, we haven't been able to string them together, but, I think our spirits are good, and, we're still in a good spot.
When you're facing a lot of adversity, how do you manage the peaks and valleys as a player and then just as a team?
I think you just got to enjoy what you do. Come in, love what you do, appreciate who you get a chance to do it with, and give your best. That's all that anybody asks is, to give your best. Nobody tries to make or miss shots or turn the ball over or, win or lose games, So just give your best, and, I think our effort and our mentality is in a great spot. That's all you can ask for.
Talented backcourt over there in Philly. Where does it start tonight going up against them?
Defensive end. I thought the last time we played them in Philly, we really established our physicality, on both ends of the floor. We had 70 points in the paint or something like that, which is a sign of how aggressive we're playing, definitely on offense, but I thought we were like that on defense as well. So, give them credit. They got, like you said, a talented backcourt, a talented team, but we'll be all right.
It's still early in the season, but this is the last time you guys faced Philadelphia. You guys are right neck and neck in the standings. Is it too early to care about that stuff, or are you kind of aware that this could be a potential tie-breaking game for later in the season?
I think every game, is important, and I think that we just got to focus on continuing to get better. Definitely a game, on our home court. We haven't won 2 in a row. We're about to go on a long trip, so want to, get the wins when we can and quality opponent tonight. I expect like a playoff-like environment and atmosphere. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Into this season in games decided by 3 points or less, what have you liked about your group's ability to come with wins in those situations, regardless of how you got there or which players are on the court?
This league is hard to win in, no matter who you're playing against. Like you said, some of those games shouldn't have came down to those final buckets at the end of the game, but at the end of the day, you gotta take the wins when you take them and then just learn from them. So, it's also a credit to us executing late, both offensively and defensively. But like I said, it's what kind of happens in the first 3 quarters that can alleviate those type of games.
Wendell, how would you describe the team's mentality of alternated wins and losses like this? What needs to happen to get 2 in a row?
Gotta make it happen. I think the biggest thing for us is just, I think last game was pretty good defensively, holding that team to a 103, including the overtime. I think we just got to find a way to make it work on both ends of the court consistently throughout the game. When we get our leads, continuing to do what got us that lead, not shying away from what works, and then defensively staying aggressive, no matter what the score is, no matter what point of the game it's at. There's one thing I've noticed that teams are not giving up. Teams are fighting to the last possession. So we got to do a better job of just, being able to string together both great offensive and defensive possessions, no matter what the score is.
You guys have big expectations for the season. The internal expectations so much bigger than the external expectations. How do you guard against frustration and maybe struggling to scratch out those consecutive wins and struggling to make the progress that you hope to, or see the results that you hope to see?
Just continue to put this work in. I think, for me personally, that's something that I've always hung my hat on. When the going gets tough, just continuing to play hard. Not play hard, but work out hard, come in here, get shots, feel good. So, going into every game, the water will break at some point, and the floodgates will definitely open for us. I got confidence in this team, because everybody wants to win. We all want to figure out a way to win and string some wins together. So, I got confidence that it'll all come together at some point, especially with guys coming back into the fold. I think it'll all work out for sure.
This Philly team welcoming guys back. Maybe it's questionable, but you've seen him in the lineup.
Yeah.
How different do they look when they're playing with him, and what are the challenges for you going up against a guy like that?
I think the first thing is staying out of foul trouble. I think the best thing for this team is when I'm out on the court, being able to guard those guys. And then for them as a team, they just play a lot slower when he's out there. Not saying it's a bad thing or anything. They play a lot slower, make sure he gets the ball in his spots and things like that. I think our biggest thing, no matter if he's playing or not, is just to run. Live in transition, clean up the defensive glass. I think that gives us the best shot to win the game and contain Maxey. Maxey's playing at an all-time level right now, so being able to contain him, make all his shots tough, I think that'll give us the best shot at winning this game tonight.
We're about midway through the season, so maybe it's too early to thinking too hard about this. But where Philadelphia is in the standings. This is the last time you guys play them, and tonight takes the season serious. Does that register with you guys at all at this point in the season? Or how, is it still just we're trying to work on us and we're worried about playoff? We're worried about kind of playoff positioning later on.
It's a little bit of both. I think you definitely want to always put yourself as the main priority when it comes to playing in these games. But then secondly, like, you know, just saying, knowing that this is, whoever wins this game takes the season series, you know, it just puts an extra chip on your shoulder. You know, knowing this is a long season, it just gives you a little bit more extra motivation going into this game. So it's a little bit of both in my opinion, but at the end of the day, like you said, you know, it's about us and just being better as a team.
Thanks, Del.
Yep, appreciate y'all.